Deep in Earth's Mojave Desert, the massive satellite dishes of the Deep Space Monitoring Station stood silent against the star-filled night sky. Inside the main control room, Lisa Martinez stifled a yawn as she watched the usual stream of space noise scroll across her screens. The midnight shift was always quiet, just the way she liked it. Until it wasn't. Her computer suddenly lit up with an unusual signal pattern. At first, she thought it was just another piece of space junk broadcasting random noise. But as she focused on the incoming data, her eyes widened. This was different. The signal was structured, repeating in a clear pattern that could only be artificial. "Hey Tom, you need to see this," she called out to her supervisor, who was dozing in his chair nearby. Tom Wheeler jerked awake and shuffled over to her station, coffee mug in hand. "What have you got?" "Look at this pattern. It's not using any Earth frequencies, and it's definitely not one of ours." Lisa pointed to the strange waveforms on her screen. Tom nearly dropped his coffee when he saw the readings. "Get General Roberts on the line now." Within 30 minutes, the quiet control room had transformed into a hub of frantic activity. Military officers and civilian scientists crowded around Lisa's station, watching as she worked to decode the signal. "It's some kind of distress call," she announced finally. "The Universal Translation Matrix is having trouble with parts of it, but I'm getting the basic message." The room fell silent as she played the translated audio. "This is Alliance Vessel Starweaver. We are under attack by hostile forces in Sector 7, Crimson Nebula region. All systems failing. Critical damage sustained. Any vessels in range, we require immediate assistance." General Roberts frowned. "The Galactic Alliance. Aren't they the ones who said we were too primitive to join their little club last year?" "Yes, sir," Tom confirmed. "They said our technology was too underdeveloped, and our species was too volatile for membership." Well, the general muttered, a slight smile playing on his lips. "Looks like the mighty Alliance needs help from us primitives after all." Another transmission cut through their conversation. "Warning. Pirates have disabled our main drive. Navigation systems compromised. Cannot maintain shield integrity in nebula radiation. Please respond if anyone receives this message." The desperation in the alien voice was clear, even through the mechanical translation. Lisa traced the signal's origin and pulled up a map of the sector on the main screen. The Crimson Nebula glowed an ominous red, its swirling clouds of ionized gas, making it one of the most dangerous regions of known space. "Sir," one of the scientists spoke up, "our long-range scans show multiple vessels in that sector. The radiation is making it hard to get clear readings, but it looks like the Starweaver is surrounded." General Roberts straightened his uniform and pulled out his phone. "Get me the president, and someone contact Commander Chen at Edwards Air Force Base. If we're going to help these folks, we need our best pilot." "But sir," Tom interjected, "the Crimson Nebula is over 30 light-years away. Even with our fastest experimental ships, it would take." "I know the risks, Tom," the general cut him off. "But this is the chance we've been waiting for. The Alliance thinks we're nothing but primitive apes playing with rockets. Time to show them what humanity can really do." As if in response, another desperate message crackled through the speakers. "Please, if anyone is receiving this, we have civilians aboard. Children. We cannot hold out much longer." Lisa looked up at the general. "Sir, they're broadcasting their coordinates. Should I send a response?" General Roberts nodded. "Tell them help is coming. And make sure they know exactly who's coming to save them." As Lisa typed out the reply, she couldn't help but smile. The mighty Galactic Alliance was about to learn that they had seriously underestimated Earth and its people. High above the desert, the stars twinkled indifferently, unaware that humanity was about to take its first real step onto the galactic stage. Commander Sarah Chen stood in front of her locker at Edwards Air Force Base, staring at the photo of her father pinned inside. He had been a fighter pilot too, one of the best, until a crash took his life 10 years ago. The emergency alert that woke her up at 2 a.m. still buzzed in her mind. Alien distress call. Rescue mission. Classified briefing. Hey hotshot, you ready? Captain Mike Rodriguez poked his head into the locker room. The general's waiting. Sarah grabbed her flight jacket and nodded. As they walked down the hallway, their footsteps echoing off the metal walls, Mike couldn't contain his excitement. Can you believe it? Real aliens. And they need our help, he grinned. After all the talk about us being primitive. Focus, Rodriguez, Sarah said, but she was smiling too. Let's hear what we're dealing with first. They entered the briefing room to find it packed with military brass and scientists. General Roberts stood at the front, next to a holographic display of the Crimson Nebula. Commander Chen, he nodded as she took her seat. What I'm about to tell you is now classified at the highest level. The lights dimmed as he continued. 1 hour ago, we received a distress call from an alien vessel belonging to the Galactic Alliance. They're trapped in the Crimson Nebula, under attack by pirates. Their fancy technology is failing due to the nebula's radiation. He pointed to a blinking dot on the map. This is the Star Weaver, their ship. And this, he gestured to a strange-looking spacecraft displayed on another screen, is your ride. Sarah leaned forward. The ship looked unlike anything she'd ever seen, a hybrid of human and alien technology. Its sleek lines reminded her of her F-35, but there were parts she didn't recognize. We call it the Firefly. A scientist stepped forward. Dr. Emma Wong, head of the Hybrid Technology Division. It's our experimental craft, combining basic alien tech we've reversed engineered with good old-fashioned human engineering. And you want me to fly it? Sarah asked, studying the ship's specs on her tablet. You're the best pilot we have, Commander, General Roberts said. More importantly, you can fly without relying on advanced computer systems. The Alliance pilots are too dependent on their AI. When their tech fails, they're helpless. Dr. Wong pulled up more technical data. The Firefly is designed to work in conditions where advanced systems fail. Manual controls, backup mechanical systems, and just enough alien tech to make the jump through space. How long do I have to train in it? Sarah asked. The general checked his watch. About 3 hours. The Star Weaver doesn't have much time. The room fell silent. Sarah felt everyone's eyes on her. 3 hours to learn to fly an experimental spacecraft, then jump across 30 light years to rescue aliens from space pirates in a deadly nebula. Her father would have loved this mission. One more thing, General Roberts added. We've got a guest. The door opened, and a tall, blue-skinned alien walked in. Despite their obvious distress, they carried themselves with dignity. This is Ambassador Zix, the general said. They're here to observe. The alien's silver eyes studied Sarah. Your general claims human pilots can operate effectively without advanced guidance systems. I find this difficult to believe. Sarah stood up and met the alien's gaze. With all due respect, Ambassador, what you believe doesn't matter right now. Your people need help, and I'm the best chance they've got. Zix's antennae twitched. Surprise, maybe, or annoyance. The Star Weaver carries some of our most important citizens. If you fail, I won't fail. Sarah cut them off. She turned to Dr. Wong. Show me what this Firefly can do. We've got 3 hours to get ready. As they headed to the hangar, Sarah heard the ambassador mutter something in their language. She didn't need a translation to know they were still doubting her. That was fine. She was used to being underestimated. Soon, the entire galaxy would learn what one human pilot could do. The Firefly hummed to life around Sarah as she ran through the pre-flight checklist one last time. 3 hours of crash training had taught her the basics, but this was still the most advanced vehicle she'd ever piloted. Dr. Wong's voice crackled through her helmet radio. All systems are green, Commander. The jump drive is charged and ready. Sarah flexed her hands inside her flight gloves. The cockpit felt familiar enough. Dr. Wong's team had designed it to match standard fighter layouts where possible, but the view through the canopy was unlike anything she'd seen before. Earth hung below her like a blue marble as the Firefly orbited at the jump point. Remember, Dr. Wong continued, the first jump will be the easiest part. Once you reach the nebula's edge, you'll hit the asteroid field. That's where things get tricky. Ambassador Zix's voice cut in. Our data shows the asteroid field is impossible to navigate without quantum mapping systems, which your primitive vessel lacks. Sarah smiled under her helmet. Good thing I'm not relying on data then. Launch control. This is Firefly, she reported. Ready for jump sequence. General Roberts responded personally. Godspeed, Commander Chen. Bring them home. Sarah took a deep breath and pressed the jump initiator. The stars around her stretched into lines of light, and her stomach lurched as space itself bent around the ship. The jump lasted only seconds, but it felt like hours. When reality snapped back into focus, she was staring at the Crimson Nebula. Its red clouds swirled like a storm on the horizon, and floating between her and the nebula was a dense field of asteroids, tumbling and spinning in the darkness. Jump successful, she reported. Beginning approach to asteroid field. The Firefly sensors were already going crazy. The radiation from the nebula created false readings, making the advanced navigation systems useless. But Sarah didn't need them. She could see the asteroids with her own eyes, could feel the ship's movements through the controls. This is madness, Ambassador Zix protested. Even our best pilots wouldn't attempt this without full system support. Sarah ignored them, focusing instead on the dance of rocks ahead. She pushed the Firefly forward, letting instinct guide her movements. An asteroid the size of a building spun towards her. She rolled the ship sideways, slipping through a gap barely wider than her wingspan. First obstacle cleared, she reported calmly, even as her heart raced. More asteroids approached. Sarah weaved between them, sometimes with meters to spare, sometimes with just centimeters. She wasn't using the computer's suggested paths. She was creating her own, reading the movements of the rocks, anticipating their patterns. Impossible, she heard Zix mutter as she threaded the needle between two colliding asteroids. The asteroid field grew denser. Sarah's world narrowed to the space immediately around her ship. Roll left, dive, climb, thrust right. Each movement had to be perfect. One mistake would end the mission and her life. A massive asteroid appeared directly ahead, filling her view. The sensors screamed warnings, but Sarah had already spotted the crack running along its surface. Without hesitation, she aimed straight for it. Commander, what are you doing? Dr. Wong's voice was tense. Trust me, Sarah replied, pushing the Firefly's engines to full power. The crack in the asteroid grew larger as she approached. At the last possible moment, she turned the ship sideways, shooting through the narrow gap like a bullet through a keyhole. When she emerged on the other side, the asteroid field was behind her. The Crimson Nebula loomed ahead, its red clouds beckoning. Asteroid field cleared, she reported, allowing herself a small smile. Beginning nebula approach. The silence from Earth was broken by scattered applause and cheers from the control room. Even Ambassador Zix seemed speechless. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. Somewhere in that red hell ahead, pirates were hunting their prey, and the Starweaver's crew was running out of time. Hold on, she whispered to the distant aliens who needed her help. I'm coming. The edge of the Crimson Nebula sparkled like a wall of red diamonds. Sarah was about to enter its outer boundary when her radar pinged. 3 ships had appeared from behind a cloud of gas, moving fast towards her position. Commander, we're detecting pirate scout ships. Dr. Wong's voice crackled through the static. Their energy signatures match known raider vessels. Sarah's hands tightened on the controls. I see them. 3 bogies, attack formation. The pirate ships were sleek and deadly looking, their black hulls almost invisible against space. They moved with the confidence of predators who were used to having superior technology and numbers on their side. Their targeting systems are powering up, Ambassador Zix warned. Commander Chen, I suggest you retreat. Those are Mark 7 Hunter-class vessels. Their eye targeting is perfect for fighting other eye-dependent ships. Sarah cut in. But let's see how they handle something different. She pushed the Firefly into a dive, dropping below the incoming ships. The pirates' first volley of energy blasts passed harmlessly overhead. Sarah smiled, just as she thought. Their targeting computers were calibrated for the slower, more predictable movements of Alliance ships. "What are you doing?" Zix demanded as Sarah pulled the Firefly into a tight spiral. That maneuver has no tactical advantage. But Sarah knew exactly what she was doing. Her father had taught her about World War II dogfighting techniques, moves that modern computers couldn't predict because they were too inefficient by AI standards. She cut the Firefly's engine suddenly, letting momentum carry her forward while one of the pirate ships overshot her position. In that brief moment, she had a perfect shot. The Firefly's weapons might have been simple by Alliance standards, but they worked just fine. Her target erupted in a ball of fire. "One down," she reported calmly. The remaining pirates split up, trying to catch her in a crossfire. Their shots were getting closer as their AI adjusted to her style. But Sarah kept changing tactics, switching between different eras of combat techniques. One moment she was flying like a World War I biplane pilot, the next like a Vietnam-era ace, then like a modern fighter jock. "Fascinating," she heard Dr. Wong murmur. "The pirate ship's eye can't establish a pattern to predict." A blast grazed the Firefly shield, making the whole ship shudder. Sarah gritted her teeth and pulled into a maneuver that would have made her flight instructor scream. She cut power again, but this time used the nebula's gravity to slingshot around, ending up behind both remaining pirates. "That's impossible," Zix exclaimed. "The gravitational calculations alone would take." "Don't need calculations," Sarah grunted as she lined up her shot. "Just feel and timing." Her next blast caught one pirate ship in its engine. It spun out of control, crashing into a dense cloud of nebula gas. The last pirate ship tried to retreat, but Sarah had anticipated this. She was already moving to intercept, her final shot catching it squarely in its power core. "All hostile ships neutralized," she reported, her voice steady despite the adrenaline pumping through her veins. The silence from Earth was broken by cheers. Even Ambassador Zix seemed impressed. Perhaps we underestimated the value of human combat techniques." "The Starweaver's signal is getting stronger," Dr. Wong reported. "You're getting close, Commander. But be careful, those were just scouts. The main pirate fleet will be better prepared now that they know you're coming." Sarah checked her instruments. The Firefly had taken some damage, but all critical systems were functioning. More importantly, she'd learned valuable information about how the pirates fought. Their reliance on AI would be their weakness. "Roger that," she replied, turning the Firefly toward the heart of the nebula. Time to show them what else this primitive human can do. As she flew deeper into the red clouds, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The pirates ahead might have better ships and more advanced technology, but they were about to learn the same lesson as their scouts. Never underestimate a human pilot who trusts their instincts. The deeper Sarah flew into the Crimson Nebula, the stranger things became. The red clouds swirled around the Firefly like angry storm clouds, and the radiation made her instruments flash with random readings. Beautiful but deadly ribbons of energy danced across her view screen. "Commander, your radiation shielding is holding at 60%, Dr. Wong reported through the increasing static. "But these readings, they're off the charts." Sarah watched as another bolt of energy crackled past her ship. "I can see why the pirates use this place as a hideout. No sane pilot would follow them in here." "Yet here you are," Ambassador Zix noted dryly. "Never claimed to be sane," Sarah replied with a small grin. She adjusted her course, flying around a particularly dense cloud of red gas. The Firefly's simple systems were handling the radiation better than expected, but she still had to rely more on her eyes than her instruments. Suddenly, a massive shape loomed out of the red mist. Sarah pulled back hard on the controls, barely avoiding collision with what looked like an ancient derelict ship. "What the?" she breathed, staring at the massive wreck. "A graveyard," Ambassador Zix said quietly. "Ships that try to navigate the nebula without proper shielding. The radiation corrupts their AI systems first, then their navigation. They drift until—" More hulks became visible in the swirling red clouds. Some were clearly thousands of years old, while others looked more recent. Sarah carefully maneuvered between them, using the wrecks as cover. "Commander," Dr. Wang's voice was urgent. "We're picking up multiple energy signatures ahead. They match the pirate fleet's profile." Sarah checked her tactical display, though the readings were fuzzy. "How many?" "At least 12 ships. Wait, that's strange. They're not moving." Sarah flew closer, staying in the shadow of a massive wreck. When she cleared the next cloud bank, she saw them, the pirate fleet, arranged in a rough circle around what appeared to be a pocket of calm space within the nebula. "Clever," she muttered. "They're using the radiation as a natural fortress. The calm pocket lets them operate their advanced systems, but any rescue ships would have to fight through the radiation to reach them." Through the gaps between pirate ships, she caught her first glimpse of the Starweaver. The Alliance vessel was elegant but clearly damaged, its silver hull scarred by weapons fire. "I see the Starweaver," she reported. "They got it trapped in that calm pocket. But why haven't the pirates destroyed it yet?" "Because they're scavengers," Six spat the word with disgust. "They'll strip the ship of its technology, sell the passengers into slavery. Standard pirate tactics in this sector." Sarah studied the scene, her mind racing. The pirates had positioned themselves perfectly to defend against a traditional rescue attempt, but they weren't expecting her unorthodox approach. "Dr. Wang," she called, "remember those simulations we ran? The ones that everyone said were too risky?" There was a pause. "Commander, you can't be serious. The radiation levels in their air. Perfect for what I need." Sarah was already plotting her course. The pirates are expecting an attack from outside their perimeter. But what if someone flew right through the most radioactive part of the nebula? "Impossible," Zix exclaimed. "The radiation would destroy any ship's systems." "Any ship that relies on advanced technology," Sarah corrected. "But the Firefly's basic systems might survive long enough. And the radiation would hide my approach until it's too late." She could almost hear Dr. Wang running calculations. "You'd have maybe 2 minutes before total system failure. And that's assuming you survive the radiation surge." Sarah watched another energy ribbon dance across her view screen. 2 minutes. It would have to be enough. "Better warn the Starweaver," she said, powering up her engines. "Tell them to be ready. Things are about to get interesting." As she aimed the Firefly toward the deadliest part of the nebula, Sarah thought about all those wrecked ships around her. Their crews had died because they trusted too much in their technology. She was about to prove there was another way. Sometimes, the craziest plan was the only one that could work. The most radioactive part of the Crimson Nebula glowed like liquid fire. Sarah took one last deep breath and pushed the Firefly forward into the deadly clouds. Almost immediately, her instruments began to fail. "Commander, we're losing your signal." Dr. Wang's voice crackled through heavy static. "Radiation levels air." The rest was lost in noise. Sarah was alone now. Her radar died first, followed by the targeting computer. The radiation shielding alerts flashed red before those displays went dark too. Soon, only the most basic systems remained: thrusters, life support, and manual weapons control. But that was exactly what she had planned for. Through her view screen, she could see the energy clouds parting around her ship like a hot knife through butter. The Firefly's hull groaned under the strain, but held together. Sarah counted the seconds in her head. She had less than 2 minutes before total system failure. A gap in the red clouds revealed the pirate fleet ahead. They hadn't spotted her yet. Their sophisticated sensors were focused outward, not expecting anyone to be crazy enough to fly through the radiation storm. Sarah's hands were steady on the controls as she lined up her approach. The Starweaver grew larger in her view, its silver hull reflecting the red glow of the nebula. She could see the pirate ships surrounding it, their crews probably busy preparing to board their prize. 1 minute 30 seconds. She burst out of the radiation cloud like a ghost ship emerging from hell. By the time the pirates' alarms started blaring, she was already firing. 2 ships exploded before they could even raise their shields. Chaos erupted. The pirate fleet scattered in confusion, their formation breaking apart. Their eye-targeting systems struggled to lock onto the Firefly, which was giving off such intense radiation readings that it confused their computers. "This is Earth vessel Firefly to Starweaver," Sarah broadcast on all frequencies. "Hope you don't mind some primitive assistance." A shocked voice replied through the static. "Earth vessel. How did you? Never mind. Our engines are damaged, but weapons are operational." "Then start shooting." Sarah yanked the Firefly into a spin as pirate ships finally began to return fire. "Target the ones trying to regroup." 1 minute left. The Starweaver's weapons came to life, catching several pirates in a crossfire. Sarah dove between enemy ships, her radiation-soaked vessel causing their targeting systems to malfunction wherever she went. Each pass scattered their formation further. "Firefly, our engines are repaired," the Starweaver reported, "but we cannot navigate through the radiation." "Follow my exact path out," Sarah ordered, swinging around for another attack run. "I'll clear the way." 30 seconds. The remaining pirate ships were in disarray. Their coordinated AI systems, which made them so deadly in normal space, couldn't handle the combination of radiation and unpredictable human tactics. 2 more tried to flee and exploded under the Starweaver's guns. "Now, full power to engines," Sarah shouted, turning the Firefly toward the clearest path out of the nebula. The Starweaver's massive engines flared to life behind her. 15 seconds. The last few pirate ships scattered like startled fish as the 2 vessels raced for safety. Sarah's cockpit was getting hot. The radiation shielding was almost gone. 10 seconds. The edge of the radiation zone was just ahead. Warning lights filled Sarah's cockpit as systems began to fail completely. 5 seconds. They burst out of the radiation cloud together, the Firefly and the Starweaver, trailing red energy like comets. Behind them, the remaining pirates didn't dare follow. "Engines offline, switching to backup power," Sarah reported calmly, though her hands were shaking slightly. "Starweaver, what's your status?" The reply came with what sounded like laughter in the background. "We are operational and very impressed." The Alliance clearly made a mistake in judging Earth's capabilities. Sarah allowed herself a small smile as she looked back at the red nebula. Sometimes the best technology wasn't the most advanced. It was the kind you could trust when everything else failed. "Let's get you home," she said. "But first, I need to check something with my engineer." "Hey, Dr. Wong, remember when you said this ship couldn't survive that much radiation?" The reply came through surprisingly clear. "Remind me never to doubt human ingenuity again, Commander. Never again." The journey back was slower than the trip in. The Firefly's engines were running on backup power, and the Starweaver's systems were still recovering from the radiation damage. Sarah kept a close eye on both ships as they limped through space together. "Commander, your ship's radiation readings are still extremely high," the Starweaver's captain said through the comm. "Our medical team is concerned about your exposure levels." Sarah checked her suit's radiation meter. It was higher than she'd like, but still within survivable limits. "I'm fine, Captain. How are your passengers holding up?" "Shaken but safe. We have 32 civilians aboard, including 12 children. If you hadn't arrived when you did." The captain's voice trailed off, and Sarah understood why. She'd seen enough pirate attacks in Earth's oceans to know what happened to captured crews and passengers. "Commander Chen," Ambassador Zix's voice cut in, clearer now that they were away from the nebula. "The Alliance Council is very interested in speaking with you." Your tactics were unprecedented. Let me guess, Sarah smiled. No Alliance pilot would have even attempted that rescue. No Alliance pilot would have survived it, Six corrected. Our reliance on advanced technology has perhaps limited our thinking. A new alarm started beeping in Sarah's cockpit. She checked the readings and frowned. Dr. Wong, are you seeing this? The radiation damage is spreading through the power systems. Confirmed, Dr. Wong replied tensely. The backup generators are failing. You need to dock with the Starweaver immediately. Sarah looked at the Alliance ship flying beside her. The Starweaver was massive compared to the Firefly. Its silver hull now scared but still beautiful. Captain, requesting emergency docking permission. Granted, the captain replied instantly. Our main bay is still functional. But Commander, our docking systems were damaged in the attack. You'll have to do it manually. Sarah heard gasps over the comm. Manual docking between moving ships was considered nearly impossible without computer assistance, but after everything else she'd done today, this felt almost normal. Roger that. Beginning approach. She guided the Firefly toward the Starweaver's open bay, using small bursts from her maneuvering thrusters. The Firefly's engines coughed and sputtered, fighting her every move, but Sarah's hands remained steady on the controls. Careful, Commander, the captain warned. Our artificial gravity is fluctuating. If you come in too fast. Trust me, Sarah said softly, focusing entirely on the delicate dance of bringing her ship in. The docking bay seemed to swim before her eyes. The radiation exposure was starting to affect her vision. She blinked hard, forcing herself to concentrate. The Firefly drifted closer, inch by inch. Sarah could see Alliance crew members watching through the bay windows, their alien faces pressed against the glass in fascination. One wrong move would crush her ship against the bay walls. With a gentle thud that Sarah felt more than heard, the Firefly settled onto the docking clamps. The magnetic locks engaged automatically, securing her ship in place. Docking complete, she reported, her voice slightly shaky. Requesting permission to pass out now. The last thing she heard before darkness took her was Dr. Wong's worried voice calling her name, and what sounded like cheering from the Starweaver's crew. She woke up in what had to be the Starweaver's medical bay. The technology around her was like nothing she'd seen before, but the concerned faces of the medical staff were surprisingly human-like in their expression. Welcome back, Commander. Ambassador Zix stood nearby, looking both relieved and impressed. You've been unconscious for 6 hours. The radiation exposure was significant. Sarah tried to sit up, but her body felt like lead. The Firefly. Your ship is being decontaminated. The engineering team can't stop talking about how you kept it flying in those conditions. Zix paused. They say it should have been impossible. Sarah managed a weak smile. Impossible is just another word for hasn't been done by a human yet. The ambassador's expression shifted to what might have been a smile. The Alliance Council is very eager to speak with you once we reach Earth. It seems we have much to learn from your people. And we have much to learn from you, Sarah replied, looking around at the advanced medical bay. Maybe that's the point. We're better together than apart. Through the medical bay's window, she could see Earth's sun, now just a distant star. But they were heading home. And they weren't alone anymore. 1 month after the rescue of the Starweaver, Sarah stood before the Alliance Council in their temporary chamber at the United Nations building in New York. The massive room was packed with representatives from both Earth and the Alliance, all gathered to witness this historic moment. She felt strange in her formal dress uniform after spending so many weeks in hospital beds, first on the Starweaver, then back on Earth. The radiation exposure had taken its toll, but Alliance medical technology had helped her recover faster than anyone expected. Ambassador Zix stood at the podium, addressing the mixed crowd of humans and aliens. 1 month ago, the Alliance made a grave error in judgment. We dismissed humanity as primitive because they lacked our advanced technology. We failed to see that true advancement comes in many forms. Screens around the chamber showed footage from the rescue mission, captured by the Starweaver's external cameras. Sarah watched herself pilot the Firefly through the radiation storm, still amazed that she pulled it off. Commander Chen's actions proved that humanity possesses qualities the Alliance had forgotten to value. Zix continued. Adaptability. Creativity. The ability to function when technology fails. The courage to attempt the impossible. In the audience, Sarah spotted Dr. Wong sitting with her engineering team. They'd spent weeks studying the radiation-damaged Firefly, learning how a primitive ship had survived conditions that would have destroyed more advanced vessels. But perhaps most importantly, Zix said, humanity reminded us of something essential: the willingness to help others, even those who had previously rejected them. The ambassador turned to face Sarah directly. Commander Chen, please step forward. Sarah approached the podium, standing tall despite her still healing body. The Alliance Council members rose from their seats, a gesture of respect she hadn't expected. The Council has reached 2 decisions today, Zix announced. First, we formally invite Earth to join the Galactic Alliance, not as a primitive species needing guidance, but as equals bringing unique and valuable perspectives to our civilization. Applause thundered through the chamber. Sarah saw General Roberts beaming proudly in the front row. Second, Zix continued once the noise died down. We wish to establish a new joint training program. Alliance pilots will learn Earth's manual flying techniques, while human pilots will receive training in our technology. Commander Chen, we ask that you lead this program. Sarah blinked in surprise. I would be honored, Ambassador. Honor is ours. A new voice spoke up. The captain of the Starweaver stood from his seat. My crew and passengers owe you their lives. But more than that, you showed us a better way forward. Together. One by one, the rescued passengers of the Starweaver stood up. The alien children she'd saved waved at her, their parents bowing in respect. Sarah felt tears threatening to form in her eyes. There's one more thing, Dr. Wong called out suddenly. Show them, Commander. Sarah reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data chip, the Firefly's flight recorder. During the rescue, we gathered extensive data about the pirate fleet's operations in the Crimson Nebula. Their headquarters, their tactics, their weaknesses, information that could help shut them down permanently. The Alliance Council members leaned forward with interest. You would share this intelligence with us? One asked. Of course, Sarah replied. That's what allies do. And next time, we'll face them together. Human intuition combined with Alliance technology. They won't stand a chance. Ambassador Zix's antennae twitched in what Sarah now recognized as amusement. Together, indeed. The pirates won't know what hit them. As the chamber erupted in another round of applause, Sarah looked out at the mixed crowd of humans and aliens. Just 1 month ago, they had been separate species, divided by prejudice and misunderstanding. Now they were allies, each bringing their own strengths to face the challenges ahead. She thought of her father's photo, still pinned in her locker at Edwards. He would have loved to see this, humanity taking its place among the stars, not by conquering or dominating, but by helping others in need. Sometimes the greatest victories came not from proving your superiority, but from showing others that everyone had something valuable to contribute. Even the primitives. Especially the primitives.